Hi, I'm Ivy Kaminsky, and I'm the founder and CEO of Find Your Power, and we connect women with resources and each other while building an amazing community of supportive women. And today I'm going to introduce you to my Find Your Power Self-Care Challenge. By the end of this video, you will learn a little bit about my story and learn about what I call the 3 pillars of self-empowerment, what self-care is and isn't. You'll do 3 exercises that will help you create a personal wellness plan and set up a 30-day personalized self-care routine. So I'm doing this challenge because I really value transformational growth, and I feel like it is kind of my life's mission and passion to help other women see impossibility and to really encourage and give the tools and resources for you to have your own transformational growth. And I believe that doing kind of stretching ourselves and pushing ourselves a bit and is one great way to get to that place of growth. So a little bit about my story. At the end of 2018, I was really struggling in many areas of my life. I was suffering from mild depression and was tired of working so hard and seeing not a lot of results from my hard work. I was really struggling, feeling minimally successful and not seeing the money come in spite of feeling like I was working myself to the bone. I also couldn't figure out why I kept attracting such crap men, and I decided that I was going to give myself a 1-year challenge. I was going to take 1 whole year. I was going to really focus on my self-growth, and I was also decided to quit drinking for that full year because I felt like that it was really the largest contributing factor to my depression, and there was definitely a correlation there. So it was decided to do some big changes for a full year and just really focus on myself and whatever I needed. And so a big part of that was my self-care. And so how I see self-empowerment is that there are 3 pillars. And the first pillar is the feeling of worthiness, or that you are enough, and I call that self-worth. And the second pillar is the choice, choosing you and your own well-being and happiness and making that a priority, which is self-love. And the third pillar is self-care, what we're going to be talking about today, which is the practice of taking action to improve your own health or well-being. And I see those 3 pillars as a 3-legged stool. So if you are missing any of them, you're really you're not giving yourself all that you need to be living up to your fullest potential. And they're all, a continuing practice, and not something you achieve overnight, but definitely worth striving for. I just really believe until you have a solid foundation of self-worth, self-love, and self-care, you will never live to your fullest potential, and you will always hold yourself back. So I want to define a little bit what is self-care and what isn't self-care. And really, it is any activity that you deliberately do in order to take care of your mental, emotional, or physical health. It is not a selfish act. When we take care of ourselves, we are really much better able to take care of the other people in our lives. And we are also showing our children and those around us that it's okay to take care of ourselves, and that that's valuable and healthy. It shouldn't be something, self-care should not be something that's forced. or one more thing on your to-do list. But it's really meant to be the most pure form of self-love and to listen to our needs and to honor them. Ultimately, the biggest reason that we do self-care and that we need self-care is that it refuels us for everything that life throws at us. And I don't know about you or your circles, but just about everyone that I know in this pandemic world is running around doing way too much between distance learning or the very blurred lines of working from home, the blurred lines between home and work that come from working from home. And they're basically running on fumes, myself included. So if it sounds like if this sounds like you, or you've forgotten what it looks like to take care of yourself in this world, new world, I invite you to grab your journal or a piece of paper and join me in thinking about what really fuels you. Go ahead, grab it. So this is the first exercise we're doing, is to just brainstorm what really fuels me. Is it as simple as some quiet time in the morning so you can contemplate your day? Or maybe it's daily walks with your dog or a relaxing bath. Maybe you're like me and you need to have deep conversations with your girlfriends to get really connected. So I'm going to give you a minute to brainstorm, but don't feel like you have to figure it all out right now. This is just to get you started thinking about your needs. And if you're really stumped, you can also pause the video here where I've given you some ideas. So something to note, some of these things may look different than what you did prior to COVID. So it's also important to consider what you can do in our current world. Hopefully that'll change. And I have basically 3 golden rules that I think are important when thinking about what fuels you and when putting together your list. Number 1, keep it simple. Over time, you will find your own rhythm and routine. Number 2, self-care isn't something that just happens. You must actively plan for it. And number 3, be conscious. Be aware of what you do, why you do it, how it feels, and what the outcomes are. So now we're going to do another small exercise, and I'm going to ask you to think about and do a little more brainstorming. What have you been doing that isn't good for you or that no longer serves you? This is basically your no list. Are you staying up too late watching mindless TV? Or which ultimately means you don't get enough sleep and makes your next day harder? Or are you spending hours on TikTok or some other mindless place online that isn't really giving you anything but a headache? Sometimes we have to make space or get rid of the no's to make room for the yeses. I'll give you another minute to think about your no's. And don't worry about if you haven't finished. You can go back and think a little more about this after we're done here. But the next thing I would like you to think about is how often might you do any of these things on your list, on your what refuels you list, the first exercise that we did. And be realistic. Do you want to do them daily, or once a week, or once a month, or even once a quarter? I know I have a morning routine and a bedtime routine. So in the mornings, first thing I do when I wake up is think about my intention for the day and kind of visualize what I would like the day to look like. And then I do some affirmations that are in an app that I have captured. And then sometimes if I have the time, not always, I will do a meditation in the morning, and that's basically my morning routine, so that's pretty quick. And then in the evening, I spend a little more time. I have a bedtime alarm that goes off that tells me it's time to, because I've found that sleep is super important for me, and I need 8.5 to 9.5 hours for optimal functioning, which, I don't always get, but I really strive to try to set myself up to do that. So at nighttime, once my bedtime alarm goes off, I gather my things around me, my journal. I might do some journaling. I will do generally a tarot card reading for myself. I will do something in my journal where I list out 5 things I'm grateful for, 5 gains, which are things that I've accomplished in that day, and if I have, well, maybe not 5, but any gains that I have for the day, and then a gift, a synchronicity or a gift or something that's come to me that day that I want to be mindful of. So that's one more thing that I do with my bedtime routine. And then I also do a bedtime meditation, which is a guided meditation that I do on an app called the Insight Timer. And I find when I have those two kind of bookends in place, they really set me up for my best day. And yours will look different, but if you can find whatever works best for you and make space for it, it really makes all the difference in the world. So now that you've given a little time to how often you might want to do any of these things, and it could be daily, weekly, even monthly, I have on my list to some kind of body work once a month, whether that's massage or Reiki, or it could be a lot of different things, or quarterly. Maybe you value travel like me, and although you haven't had a chance to do it much with COVID, even little overnight or day trips once a quarter would be something that you could do. Even a staycation, but yeah, quarterly goals are also, or quarterly self-care is also something you could plan for. So once you have your list, you might also want to put it into categories. And your categories might be different than mine, but sometimes just getting things kind of organized might help you see them differently and think about them differently. So my categories, I put them into, ended up being mind, body, connection, activities, so things that I do physically, rest, which could be, actual sleep or just downtime, kind of quiet time, journaling or contemplative time, or whatever else makes you feel rested. It could be chores that you do in a contemplative way that, kind of you can get into your zone. And food was my final list, which I chose to put separate from body. But however you do it is completely fine, and there's no right way. You can also sort them. Once you have your final list, you can also sort them by how often you will do them, and keep that list somewhere you'll see it, especially for the daily or weekly things, at least until you get used to doing them. So I am nearly done with laying out the details of this challenge. And when the video ends, I'm going to ask you or invite you to make a formal wellness plan for yourself. And so that is going to require you to do 3 things. Number 1, spend a little more time thinking it through and adding anything to your what fuels you list. And basically just take it and finalize it, whether it's in categories or not, or sorted by sorted by how often you'll do these things. Just make it feel final for you. And this final doesn't mean it's, always and forever. It just means for right now. You can always do this again anytime later and update and add and adjust. And I find that that's really helpful. I look at my list try to look at it every month, but definitely look at it every quarter. And then number 2, decide how often, finalize the decision on how often you will do these things, any of these activities. And I think it's important to think about how realistic it is too. You might not be able to do something every day, but if you can't do it every day, maybe you can start with every week, and see how it goes. And maybe if it doesn't work out how you wanted it to, give yourself grace and try again, or change it up a bit. And number 3, and this is the most important part, I want you to get out your calendar, whether it's digital, electronic, or whether it's paper. I want you to get out your calendar and actually schedule these things into your life. That's how you make things a habit. That's how you make things happen, is by making space for them figuring out how they fit in and where they fit in and where there's going to be space for them, and then looking at that plan for yourself regularly and making it happen. It's really, honestly, the most important thing is to make space for yourself, to choose you by doing all of this self-care routine and practice, and by making space for yourself. You might make that appointment for a massage that you've been wanting to make for months, like me, or call a friend to be your online accountability buddy or workout buddy for a month. Pick your days and times and write them on your calendar. Schedule them out a month out. Put alarms or notifications on your phone so that you don't forget. Anything that you can do to set yourself up for success will make it all that much easier. And celebrate the little victories. When you do something that is a step forward for you, that is a big deal, that is taking care of yourself, at night before you go to bed, think about that as an accomplishment and how that felt, and do a little reflection on it. Better yet, build yourself your own morning or bedtime routine, like I've mentioned that I have, or you can do a weekly or monthly ritual around a practice of self-care. Maybe it's a weekly bath with some bath salts and some journaling and some candles, or whatever it is that you need. Maybe it's a weekly walk with a girlfriend, and or some fun art project with your kids. Whatever you need or you want that can really help you celebrate your life and celebrate yourself and choose yourself. Like, build that in, make that a part of your habits. Isn't it about time you choose you? Really? Remember, that is pillar number 2. Self-love, choosing you. And you so deserve it. I know that for a fact. We all do. I have a few, just to wrap up, I have a few reminders for you with this challenge. So this, I don't know, maybe doesn't need to be said, but obviously basic needs first. If you're hungry, you're not thinking about, a massage or anything else that you can or can't do, or a walk, or you really need to take care of your basic needs: food, shelter, water, and maybe that's part of your routine is or that's part of your self-care, is putting your own basic needs first. It can be that simple. Another reminder is to choose you every day. Like, wake up in the morning and think, how can I choose me today? Maybe I can't get done all the things that I would have liked to do on my self-care routine or list, but I want to do this one thing, and this one thing will make the most difference. So think about how you can, choose you every day and make the most difference in your life. There is no one size fits all. Another really important reminder is to schedule you time. I cannot stress that one enough. And include others in your plans. They can help you be successful, and you can inspire them as well. I think if other people seeing us do this, they can be inspired and want to emulate that, want to do the same for themselves, and are given permission, like that it's okay. And then the last reminder is to actively look for opportunities to practice. This is just practice. It doesn't have to be anything specific, it doesn't have to be anything perfect ever. It's just making an effort. So, and now here's the challenge part. Please do this, your personal self-care routine, for 30 days, 30 full days, a whole month. It takes 21 days to create a habit. So I encourage you to do any new practice that you try on for 30 days. Always. That's just a rule for me. I think it takes that much time for anything to stick. And that way, if you miss a day, you can give yourself a little grace and just start fresh the next day. Like, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just keep going. And then I invite you to really see and feel what it's the difference, like what it's like before and after you do this, and tell others. And don't forget, as with any practice, and as with everything, self-care takes practice. You're not going to get it perfect right out of the gate, and I never want you to get it perfect anyways. Hopefully I've stressed that enough. But most important is that you listen to your own needs and try to be doing that more regularly than you have been in the past. I think especially with COVID, that's all we can ask, is that you're taking baby steps in the right direction. And give yourself grace. You are going for progress, not perfection. I wish you the best. I look forward to hearing from you. Especially, I'd love to hear any small victories or big ones with this challenge. So please share them with us online. That'd be awesome. Wishing you loads of self-worth and self-love, and especially self-care. Cheers.